Genesis, the first book of the Bible, is like a grand opening act. It sets the stage for the entire biblical story. This book tells us about the beginning of everything, the universe, earth, life, and humanity. It introduces us to God, the powerful creator, and to the first humans, Adam and Eve. Genesis lays out the foundation for understanding God's relationship with humanity, our place in the world, and the consequences of our choices. It's a book filled with drama, love, betrayal, and hope. Chapters 1 and 2 of Genesis describe the awe-inspiring creation of the world. God, with words of power, speaks the universe into existence. Light explodes into darkness. Land emerges from the waters. The sky fills with the sun, moon, and stars. God populates the earth with all sorts of amazing creatures, fish in the sea, birds in the air, and animals on land. Finally, God creates humanity, male and female, in his own image. He gives them dominion over the earth and all its creatures. This act of creation is a testament to God's power, wisdom, and love. These chapters are not just a scientific account of creation, but a beautiful poem about God's order and purpose. They tell us that the world is not random but carefully crafted by a loving God. Humans, created in God's image, hold a special place in this creation. They are called to be stewards of the earth, living in harmony with nature and each other. Chapters 3 to 5 introduce us to the fall, a pivotal event in human history. Tempted by the serpent, Adam and Eve disobey God's command. They eat the forbidden fruit from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. This act of disobedience has catastrophic consequences. Their eyes are opened to shame and guilt. Paradise is lost. Sin enters the world, bringing with it pain, suffering, and death. The relationship between God and humanity is fractured. Yet even in judgment, God shows mercy. He promises a future Redeemer who will crush the serpent's head. These chapters introduce the concepts of sin, judgment, and God's plan for redemption. They set the stage for the rest of the Bible, which tells the story of how God works to restore his broken relationship with humanity. Humanity, now far from its original innocence, continues its downward spiral into wickedness. God, grieved by the pervasiveness of sin, decides to send a flood to judge the earth. However, he chooses to spare Noah, a righteous man, and his family. God instructs Noah to build an ark, a massive vessel designed to withstand the floodwaters. Noah faithfully obeys, gathering his family and 2 of every kind of animal into the ark. The flood comes, engulfing the earth and wiping out all life except those safely sheltered within the ark. After the floodwaters recede, Noah and his family emerge from the ark to a cleansed earth. God makes a covenant with Noah, promising never again to destroy the earth with a flood. He gives them the rainbow as a sign of this promise. This story reminds us of the destructive power of sin and the consequences of turning away from God. It also highlights God's justice, mercy, and faithfulness. As humanity repopulates the earth, people migrate east and settle in the land of Shinar. There they embark on a prideful endeavor, building a tower that reaches to the heavens. They want to make a name for themselves and avoid being scattered across the earth. This act of defiance angers God, who sees their attempt to reach heaven through their own efforts as a rejection of his sovereignty. God confuses their language, creating a cacophony of tongues that prevents them from understanding each other. Their ambitious project is abandoned and the people are scattered across the earth, their language is diversified. This event explains the origin of different languages and cultures. It serves as a reminder of the dangers of pride and the importance of seeking God's will. In the heart of ancient Mesopotamia, God calls a man named Abram. He promises to make him a great nation, bless him, make his name great, and bless all the families of the earth through him. Abram, trusting in God's promise, leaves his homeland and journeys to the land of Canaan. God reiterates his covenant promises to Abram, assuring him that his descendants will be as numerous as the stars in the sky. Even though Abram and his wife Sarai are old and childless, Abram believes God's promise. God credits Abram's faith as righteousness. These chapters introduce the concept of covenant, a binding agreement between God and humanity. God's covenant with Abram lays the foundation for the future nation of Israel and the coming of the Messiah. As time passes, Sarai, still childless, becomes impatient. She suggests that Abram take her Egyptian maidservant, Hagar, as a wife, so that she can have a child through her. Abram agrees, and Hagar conceives a son, Ishmael. However, this act creates tension and conflict within the family. God appears to Abram, now renamed Abraham, and renews his covenant promise. He promises that Sarah, formerly Sarai, will bear Abraham a son, Isaac, through whom the covenant will be established. God also promises to make Ishmael into a great nation. These chapters highlight the complexities of human relationships and the challenges of faith. They demonstrate that God's plans, though sometimes difficult to understand, are always for our good. The wickedness of Sodom and Gomorrah, two cities in the plain of Jordan, reaches God's ears. Two angels, disguised as men, visit Abraham. They inform him of God's plan to destroy the cities because of their wickedness. Abraham, known for his righteousness, pleads with God to spare the cities for the sake of the righteous who might live there. God agrees to spare Sodom if even 10 righteous people can be found. However, the cities are so corrupt that not even 10 righteous people can be found. The angels warn Lot, Abraham's nephew, to flee the city with his family. God rains down fire and brimstone on Sodom and Gomorrah, destroying the wicked cities. Lot's wife, disobeying the angel's warning, looks back at the city and is turned into a pillar of salt. These chapters serve as a stark warning about the consequences of unrestrained sin. They also highlight God's justice and his willingness to show mercy when possible. Abraham, traveling to the land of Gerar, faces a test of faith. Fearing for his life, he tells Abimelech, the king of Gerar, that Sarah is his sister, not his wife. Abimelech, unaware of Sarah's true identity, takes her into his household. God intervenes, appearing to Abimelech in a dream and warning him not to touch Sarah. Abimelech, a righteous man, confronts Abraham, who explains his deception. Abimelech, though angered, returns Sarah to Abraham and rebukes him for his dishonesty. He also blesses Abraham with livestock, silver, and servants. God, in his mercy, heals Abimelech and his household, who were suffering because of Sarah's presence. This chapter demonstrates the complexities of human nature and the challenges of remaining faithful in the face of adversity. It also highlights God's faithfulness to his promises and his willingness to protect his people. It leaves the reader with an understanding of the importance of trusting in God's plan, even when it is difficult to understand.